Police are now speaking with the family of a woman found dead in a pool at an apartment complex today. It's the Woodlake Park Apartments on San Jose Boulevard. News4Jax reporter Aaron Farrar was at the scene and spoke with investigators about what we know so far.
First responders found that woman in the water there across the street at that pool at the Woodlake Park's apartment complex. That was earlier this morning. They tried to save her, but it was too late. Investigators say her death is not suspicious, but they're trying to figure out how she died, whether that was drowning or possibly having a medical emergency or experiencing a medical emergency. This is video of that scene when first responders, including officers from JSO and a medical examiner, were here. We know the woman was in her mid-30s. She was last seen alive around that pool area last night, but investigators do not know how long she had been in the water. If you live here at the complex and you saw anything or heard anything that could help and give some insight as to what happened, you're asked to call JSO or call Crime Stoppers. An autopsy will be performed to figure out how that woman died. Reporting from San Jose Boulevard, I'm Aaron Farrar, Channel 4, the local station.
We've learned the Nassau County deputy who had a 6-hour standoff with fellow deputies at a wildlife home in Yulee early this month is no longer employed by the Nassau County Sheriff's Office. News4Jax is working to get records that show whether 49-year-old Eris Ray Roden Jr. was fired or resigned and when that happened. Roden is facing several charges, including aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and use of a firearm while under the influence. According to his arrest warrant, during the standoff, Roden pointed his pistol at a fellow deputy, fired multiple shots over the top of his marked patrol vehicle, and aimed 2 shots at the Nassau County Sheriff's Office drone. We now know what caused a plane to go down in a fiery crash in St. Johns County 2 years ago, killing a flight instructor and pilot in training. According to a newly released report by the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, pilot error was to blame for the June 2021 crash. News4Jax aviation expert Ed Booth says the pilot was only 100 feet above the ground and going too slow at a too vertical angle, causing the plane's engine to stall. It hit the runway at Northeast Florida Regional Airport and burst into flames.
The man accused of killing 3 people while driving drunk in Jacksonville's Arlington area last month says he's not guilty. 40-year-old Orlando Lopez Vasquez pleaded not guilty in court today to 3 counts of DUI manslaughter and 1 count of DUI with property damage. Police say he was drunk and traveling 100 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone when he drove his F-250 into the wrong lane and hit a small car carrying 4 people. 3 of them died. Lopez Vasquez is being held without bond. His next court date is set for October 25th. A man accused of murder in Minnesota is back on the run after being mistakenly released from jail a week ago. Now the victim's family says this feels like a nightmare all over again.
She didn't have to go through this twice. You know, it's just like it's hit me double time.
Sharita Catchings says the release of the man accused of murdering her son, Dontavius, isn't just a mistake by the Marion County Sheriff's Office. It's life-changing for her family. The 29-year-old and father of 2 was shot and killed outside a Minneapolis church during a funeral in 2021.
But to find out that they had finally caught this man that we've been waiting on to get caught for all these years, 2 years. And for him to just freely walk up out of there and have a freedom of joyness, just like I escaped my punishment. You know, it's like a slap in our face all over again.
Kevin Mason was arrested in Indianapolis September 11th. Fewer than 48 hours later, he was released on a clerical error. 2 civilian clerks were fired.
We have 4 layers that they go through that should not have had happen. 2 of these people blatantly had this occur. They're paid less than $20 an hour to do work and evaluate documents that are originally put together by lawyers and judges in court. So it's a difficult job. Technically, I couldn't afford to fire the 2 people I did because we don't have another replacement. But I also could not afford to have people who would release somebody on murder charged to the street.
Mason is still believed to be in the Indianapolis area. Mason's girlfriend, who picked him up from jail last week, has since been arrested and charged with assisting a criminal. Law enforcement officials say Mason's girlfriend is not cooperating with their investigation.
Rupert Murdoch is stepping down as chairman of Fox Corporation and News Corp. He's the man who assembled a media empire that includes Fox News. The 92-year-old stepping down just months after Fox Corporation paid $787 million. That was in a defamation settlement with Dominion Voting Systems. That suit was related to lies Fox promoted on its air about the 2020 presidential election. In a memo to employees today, Murdaugh made the announcement and said his son, Lachlan Murdaugh, will become sole chairman of both companies. In the memo, Rupert Murdoch said, "The time is right for me to take on different roles," but added, "For my entire professional life, I have been engaged daily with news and ideas, and that will not change."
Citizens Insurance is sending letters to its policyholders, and if you don't respond, you're in for an expensive surprise. The agency mailed letters to more than 300,000 policyholders telling them they've been switched to another insurer, and that if they don't make a decision about that, Citizens will make it for them. Customers have until October 5th to respond. We asked our News4Jax viewers if they had received a letter from Citizens. Tina says, "Yes, I did. The quote from another company was attached, and it was several $1,000s more a year than what I was currently paying." If you've also received a letter, let us know. Share your response inside this story on news4jax.com.
We're learning more today about the recent JEA wastewater spill into Pottsburg Creek. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection is now investigating what caused the equipment failure at a lift station. It led to more than 500,000 gallons of wastewater getting into the creek. The FDEP also says as of Tuesday, bacterial levels in the creek are no longer elevated.
Fall, usually a time to score some great travel discounts, but this year's deals might not be as sweet as usual.
Plus, students at the University of Florida still without housing nearly 2 months into the school year. The solutions they've been forced to find after their luxury apartment complex was not ready for them.
And the woman accused of driving drunk and killing this bride on her wedding night has officially been indicted. We're breaking down the charges next.
Keeping kids safe without breaking the bank. The top car seats for every budget. Plus, thinking about going back to work after retiring, changes to consider before you do it. And an inside look at a unique NASA mission Friday.
You're watching Channel 4, the local station. Live with Joy Purdy, Kent Justice, the Weather Authority forecast with Chief Meteorologist Richard Nunn, and breaking news with Sky 4. News 4 Jax continues.
The woman accused of driving drunk and killing a bride on her wedding night has been indicted by a South Carolina grand jury. 25-year-old Jamie Komorowski was indicted on 4 counts related to the April 28th crash in Folly Beach. She's charged with 1 count of felony DUI resulting in death, 2 counts of felony DUI resulting in great bodily injury, and 1 count of reckless homicide. Authorities say Komorowski's blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit when she hit a golf cart carrying a bridal party, including these 2 newlyweds, Eric Hutchinson and Samantha Miller. Miller died. Hutchinson suffered a brain injury and numerous broken bones. For the first time, disgraced lawyer Alec Murdaugh has pleaded guilty to a crime. In court today, a U.S. district judge accepted and signed a plea agreement for nearly 24 federal fraud and money laundering charges. Murdaugh says he wanted his surviving son to see him take responsibility for his actions. He was a personal injury lawyer who was accused of stealing millions of dollars from his clients. The agreement does not have a sentencing recommendation included. Murdaugh is already serving 2 life sentences for the 2021 murders of his wife and youngest son.
Hitting the road this autumn might look a little different than in years past. While airfare has dropped as usual, there are still some major concerns hanging over this fall travel season. Fall is here, and with it usually comes more ideal travel conditions. Flights and gas are typically cheaper, and airports less crowded.
September and October marks a time when most students go back to school. Folks head back to regular work schedules after a more flexible summer.
This year, however, could look very different. Gas prices reached new highs this week, and the national average remains above $3.85, according to AAA. The good news, according to an expert from the travel app Hopper, autumn airfares are 9% less expensive than last year and 10% cheaper than in 2019.
This is in part due to higher capacity on the airline side and the opening of international demand this summer.
But that higher capacity could hit a snag. Contract negotiations continue with flight attendants at 4 major airlines as they inch closer to potential strikes. The looming government shutdown could also cause